The first time I realized my husband was ashamed of me was at a Christmas party, not because he said it directly, because when his coworkers asked who I was, he smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh, this is Emma. She's just a stay-at-home mom right now." Just? I remember standing there holding a paper cup of wine while his coworkers gave me those polite little nods people use when they've already decided you're unimportant. And my husband Daniel? He didn't notice the damage. Or maybe he did. That was the beginning of the end. See, when Daniel lost his job 3 years earlier, I supported us completely. I worked double shifts while pregnant, sold my grandmother's jewelry to cover rent, skipped meals sometimes so our daughter could eat properly, and I never complained. Not once. Then suddenly Daniel landed a high-paying finance job in London. Overnight, he changed. New suits, new friends, new attitude. Apparently, money had upgraded his personality. Soon, everything about me embarrassed him. The way I dressed, my accent, my cooking, even the fact I stayed home with our daughter after childcare became too expensive. "You could at least make more effort," he'd mutter while staring at his phone. Meanwhile, I was raising our child almost alone because he was always networking. Then came Sophie. Of course there was a Sophie. 26, worked in his office, perfect blonde hair, perfect teeth, the kind of woman Instagram was invented for. At first Daniel insisted they were just colleagues. Then he started coming home at midnight smelling like expensive perfume that definitely wasn't mine. One night, while folding laundry, I found a hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 guests, 1 room, champagne included. When I confronted him, he didn't even deny it. That's the part I'll never forget. He looked relieved, like cheating had become easier than pretending to love me. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he sighed. Which is a fascinating sentence considering affairs require hundreds of deliberate choices. Then he said something even worse. "I've outgrown this life, Emma. This life, meaning me, our daughter, our family." I felt physically cold. After 12 years together, the man I sacrificed everything for was speaking to me like I was an old apartment he wanted to move out of. And then came the final humiliation. "I think it's best if you move out for a while," he said carefully. "Sophie's been staying over sometimes." I genuinely thought I misheard him. He wanted me and our daughter to leave, so his mistress could feel comfortable in my house. I should have screamed. Instead I smiled, a small, terrifying smile, because in that exact moment something inside me died, and something much stronger replaced it. See, Daniel handled all our finances. Or at least he thought he did. What he conveniently forgot was that years earlier, back when he was unemployed and drowning in debt, he'd put several investments and property documents in my name for tax reasons, including the house, our house. Legally, it belonged to me. I spent the next 2 weeks acting heartbroken while quietly meeting with a lawyer. Turns out Daniel hadn't just cheated. He'd also been using company money for luxury business trips with Sophie. My lawyer called it financial misconduct. His company called it fraud. Funny how wording changes depending on who discovers it. I waited patiently. Then came Daniel's big corporate dinner party, the one he'd been bragging about for months. Important executives, potential promotion, his entire fake perfect life on display. And Sophie was there, wearing a dress I'm pretty sure he bought using the joint account. Halfway through the dinner, Daniel received a phone call. I watched his face lose all color. His company had suspended him pending investigation. 10 minutes later, he got another call. From my lawyer, informing him that I was filing for divorce. And reclaiming the house. You could actually see panic taking over his body in real time. Sophie quietly disappeared before dessert. Smart girl. The next morning, Daniel came home furious. "You ruined my life!" I laughed so hard I nearly cried. Ruined his life? Interesting, because last I checked, I wasn't the one cheating on my spouse and stealing company money. Then came the best part. 3 months later, Daniel lost his job permanently. Sophie dumped him. And he had to move into a tiny rented flat outside the city. Meanwhile, I kept the house, received a generous settlement, started my own small online business, and for the first time in years, I felt powerful. About 6 months later, Daniel asked if we could talk. Translation: his life had collapsed, and suddenly I seemed valuable again. He sat across from me in a cafe looking exhausted. "I made the biggest mistake of my life," he whispered. I looked at this man, this stranger wearing my husband's face, and realized something beautiful. I no longer needed him to regret hurting me, because I had already rebuilt my life without him. So I smiled politely, stood up and said, "You didn't outgrow your family, Daniel. You abandoned them." Then I walked out of that cafe, and this time, I never looked back.